This Bonfire Side Chat Appendix is brought to you by Dan Hall.
Dan. And
what did Dan do to get this rousing song written about him?
Well, in short, Dan. Dan is one of our patrons on Patreon.com. And, because he went to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, got cool rewards, agreed to give us a modicum of money each month, but to support us, which we really appreciate, and got a bunch of cool stuff and got our undying appreciation and got mentioned here. And that's super sweet little tune.
Yeah, that's gratis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dan.
Now everybody's going to expect this.
Yeah, nope. Only Dan Hall.
Yeah. So it's very much appreciated. And if you're interested in checking out those sweet rewards and helping us keep doing this thing, that is patreon.com/DuckFeedTV.
/Dan. Dan Hall.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
My name is Murph.
And this is a Bonfire Side Chat Appendix. It is a Cursed Second Favorite.
Mm-hmm. And this week we are reading your responses to Huntsman's Copse and the Undead Purgatory. However, we have some follow-up to get through at the beginning. Thank you so much for sticking around, Murph.
Oh, no problem.
I don't know that we gave you an option.
Yeah, usually that's a discussion.
Yeah.
It's pretty late where you're at. We just kind of assumed.
Yeah. No, I'm off tomorrow, so it's quite all right. But I'm just imagining Gary and Cole on a horse just chasing me around a circular room.
Yeah. Or a horse with two heads. One of them is mine and one of them is Cole's. And then a nameless skeleton on our back. Somebody draw that. That's a good...
You're just abusing your power now because you know if you say it, somebody will.
They might not.
Okay.
It would be cool. It's a lot to ask. But one of my friends in high school, my friend Austin, I used to always draw him in a wetsuit riding a dolphin that had his dad's head, and I thought it was super funny. And then his dad died, which he didn't get killed by a dolphin or anything.
He didn't drown.
But he didn't drown being ridden by his son. But it was just weird because I remember distinctly having all these drawings around my room of a dolphin with his head on it, days after the funeral. I'd just be like, that's weird.
Oh, whew.
Good goal.
Anywho, so in addition to just your responses, we also have your responses to our fucking up.
Yeah. So three distinct areas of us fucking up, which led to an outpouring, the likes of which we haven't seen ever before. So if we don't call out any specific names on this, recognize that if you wrote
it's everyone.
Yes, yeah. It is everyone.
Yeah, you guys all own this. It's like a what are they called? A class action lawsuit you filed against us.
The People versus Bonfire Side Chat.
Yeah, for mixing up two shitty. Anywho, let's get started. Read what happened. What's Shadowgate, Cole?
Okay, Shadowgate. Well, we put out the press release, so not much more needs to be said. However, at some point in the previous episode about the Lost Bastille, we conflated two very similar movies, Darkman and The Shadow. Starring, I was about to say respectively, but I'm not sure which order they come in, starring Alec Baldwin and Liam Neeson. Specifically, I think the first response we got was from Samuel, our good old friend Samuel Bear, saying Liam Neeson was Darkman, Alec Baldwin's superhero was The Shadow. Both movies are ridiculous and awesome, so it's an okay mistake to make. Thank you. You were far more forgiving than most others.
Well, nobody was mad about it, but people were very insistent, and we did get more response than anything we've ever done.
Yeah.
I think more people replied about that than listened to the show. Weirdly. People are telling their friends. Alec Baldwin's guys got on the horn.
Got a lot of rings on my doorbell.
I just had an evoked memory where I owned a novelization, but like a child's novelization of the movie The Shadow. And I distinctly remember reading it and being like, man, this is a really cool movie. I've never seen it.
Did you get it from a book fair? Tell me you got it from a book fair.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Definitely got it from a book fair.
That's the primary source for book adaptations of movies like that. That is where you get those. Yeah, so sorry we messed those up. And it was, at first I was taking blame for it because I think I said it, but then Cole let me say it.
Yeah.
There's this weird, like, we really own that one together.
Yeah.
And Phil Kohler did no part of it.
Yeah.
Other than, like, having good enough taste in movies not to be able to correct us.
Yeah.
So
I did
that's just my crime.
I did a Google image search to verify the similarity between Darkman and in those undead jailers. And I thought, that's weird that the poster says Liam Neeson. It's like, but I just let it go because I didn't want to be, particular.
They're not that dissimilar, even as actors. In addition, this wasn't us getting called out so much, but I specifically asked, how the fuck do you get that item above Macduff? And a lot of people wrote in, and I went and actually did it on my own as well to get it, and it's super fucking hidden.
Yeah.
It's a big soul and a shield, the Phoenix Shield, and you get it through an area a little bit later where you can jump over to a torch. Yeah. There's like this little island has a torch. And you're like, oh, why did I jump all the way over here? This wasn't worth it. Because if you kind of drop off onto the wall, you can follow this really long path and get to the shield, which is unremarkable, except that it is the first shield you can get that parries spells. So, if you do that kind of thing,
then this is the shield you want to get.
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically the intro to Get Smart to get this thing.
It's super hidden.
Yeah.
Like, this is a tricky item to get. But, thanks for everyone for letting me know how to do it. Because,
And then in just kind of the last of this, we done fucked up kind of thing, we implied that you couldn't get the jailer's weapons, the kind of crazy polearm, rustic-looking thing. A couple of people wrote in saying, yeah, you can totally get that. Alexander specifically says, hey guys, just a quick note, the jail guards that use pyromancy in the Lost Bastille can drop their weapon. I picked it up after using a bonfire aesthetic. It's called the Great Machete. And the consensus is that it is a garbage weapon because of its durability. And
I was fairly convinced that you could not for one reason or another. Mostly because I these guys running up to that the Ruin Sentinels, the little ambush of the Mecha Men. Yeah. I despawned those guys and never had it drop, so I just assumed. Yeah. I just made an assumption.
So we can put that behind us. We own it. We recognize we're humans. Just please call off the dogs.
Yeah, I recognize it as well. Murph, do you want to read Kyrie's comment?
Kyrie! As Kyrie fell off a cliff, he yelled, I just wanted to mention that Strayed is played by Peter Marikaner. I'm terrible at names. Who also played Frampt in the first game. You can tell if you listen carefully. In my opinion, he delivers the best performance in the game.
Yeah, you can hear a little bit of that Frampt kind of hamminess to it.
Yeah, and it is a good performance.
Yeah, and too bad that room. Never mind. That room sucks.
Fortunately, it's pretty easy just to despawn them. And rounding out our follow-up here, Emily Bracken writes in via the contact form saying, there was recently a thread on Reddit regarding Belfry Luna and Belfry Soul. And there's a link that we'll put in the show notes talking about our speculation on the lore around the Belfries. If we meet Laddersmith Gilligan in Earthen Peak, he tells us a story about a princess who married a prince in a nearby castle, Iron Keep. But the heart of the prince belonged to another, so the princess tried to make herself more attractive through poison, but turned into a monster instead. That poisoned princess is Mytha, and the prince in the nearby castle may be the Prince of Alkin, whose tower, Belfry Soul, resides in the nearby Iron Keep. If true, this would mean the Prince of Alkin is none other than the old Iron King, the husband of Queen Mytha. His skills at puppetry have notably improved since his creation of the Bellkeepers. This story becomes far more disturbing when you consider that Alkin and Ven were founded by the same man, which may make the Prince of Alkin and the Princess of Ven siblings. Forbidden love indeed. Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of that same speculation shows up in that Dave Klein video that I linked in the show notes for the last one.
Yeah.
He kind of brings it up along with some other possibilities as well. Mm-hmm. I personally kind of don't like the Prince of Alkin being the Iron King.
Right.
But it is possible.
Yeah.
That he grew up. Sometimes you're a little boy and you want to be a big boy until you turn into a big boy.
And then you turn into a demon.
Yeah, then you turn into a demon boy.
After you drink your morning whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah. Demon whiskey.
My first thought was, who makes themselves more attractive through poison? And then I was like, oh yeah, Botox.
Medusas. Yeah. So thank you everybody. Mm-hmm. If you end up having, other corrections, please send them in, duckfeed.tv/contact. Moving on to the responses about Huntsman's Copse. I'm going to start off with, Gustavo J. Rivieras Gonzalez, via Facebook, or Riviera Gonzalez, not Rivieras. And, he says, the Copse was the last of the branch areas I found, so fighting somewhat smart humanoid enemies that would occasionally backstab me was a refreshing change. Getting to the boss was an ordeal in itself, as I was still using the not-so-great greatsword. As for the boss itself, well, I know Gary will gush his socks off, and I did. Still, Skeleton Lords. Man, that shit is awesome. I was giggling like a 10-year-old until the bone wheels arrived. Funny that I was more afraid of a handful of bone wheels than of that black metal cover art album trio. As for the Purgatory, I was having some trouble with the boss until I used Yearn, baiting the skeletons to move as far away as possible with the side bonus of the boss stun locking them in place made this fight a walk in the skeleton park.
Is that like a private park? Do you have to pay to get in? Is it, a membership kind of thing? Or?
Skeleton Park is frightening in the dark.
Down in Skeleton Park, yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, that's the Yearn trick. I meant to try it this time, but I don't think I have a high enough sorcery to do it. So,
yeah. This Yearn is so good on a lot of bosses this time around. It's really weird. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know what the one weird trick of Dark Souls 2 is.
One weird trick that Straight doesn't want you to know about.
Vendrick hates him.
Yeah.
Alex Sconzo via Facebook says, pretty sure every single person who played this game assumed the little skeletons in the Skeleton Lord fight were on some sort of timer on their second and maybe third tries in the fight. So they rushed to murder the lords themselves and would inevitably get crushed under the descending wall of skeletons. Yeah, until you realize it is indeed a trap. That does tend to be a thing.
Well, this is another place where you can get trolled by your Sun Bros if they just go in there and just kill all the skeleton lords.
That's true.
Right quick.
That'd be a great way to serve the skeleton lords.
Dress up in the dark set, and then just go in there and spawn the skeletons, and then just stand in front of him and stop him from killing them.
Yeah.
Or you could straight up get the life drain patch and start fighting the guy too. I didn't think about that. Done. That's my gimmick PvP build.
Yeah.
Is life drain patching fuckers dressed up as a skeleton.
Yeah, no, just do a series of YouTube videos like Skelebro.
Yeah, Skeleton Squire.
Yeah.
Oh man, skeleton citizenship test.
Skeleton lad.
Yes. Murph, what's Chase say?
Chase says, the Skeleton Lords take their place solidly as the second most metal thing in Dark Souls 2. The fight is fun solo, but going co-op makes it a blast, if maybe a little too easy. They are also the first thing I saw and immediately thought, Kole and Gary are going to love this. Also, and this may be more apropos of just funnin', I had a multiplayer story I wanted to share. I was doing some co-op in an upcoming area when I was summoned by someone in the full moon butterfly set. This would have been enough to make me smile, but with his pink hair, pale skin, and power stancing whips, he was clearly doing a theme build. Incidentally, if Bindleton is listening, I'm sorry I fell to my death right before that boss. My bad.
Oh, Bindleton.
No, forever bedraggled.
So he might have encountered that the guy who put out that gimmick PvP video of he used the
royal guard. Yeah.
The staff.
Yeah. Cool.
But even still, that Moonlight Butterfly set is hilarious.
That is great.
What is that? It gives you jumping from standing still? And that's pretty much
it gives you a bunch of horizontal from jumping and then poisons everything around you. So essentially it turns Majula into a ghost town if you use it. It's pretty great.
It's also fun to look at.
It's hilarious to look at. It's super good.
The Monarch.
It is very Monarch. And that would also be a good theme build. Like a lot of people are already doing it, but specifically Monarch one would be cool. Yeah. Just Avalons. Avalons. Thank you, Chase. Paul says via contact. PC players should be aware of a bug that affects some enemies in this area. For some reason, certain factors are affected by how many frames they occupy. If you're playing on PC at 60 FPS instead of 30 FPS, your weapons will degrade twice as fast, and some enemies will attack twice as fast. Whoa. Riff from Video Games Hot Dog pointed me to this Reddit thread, and there's a link, that suggests that the ambush area on the way to the Chariot boss, one of my favorites by the way, is much harder than on console because they attack so much faster. And I like the Skeleton Lords because their name is awesome, and the best way to beat them is to be confident in your attacks. The Chariot guy reminds me of that one boss from Majora's Mask, and he is really fun.
Yeah.
One area that doesn't need to be harder.
I had them chain pull more often on console than PC, but attack speed, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
Could that be a function of just you've been playing it for a month, or?
That definitely could be. I'm just no better than that. But I haven't noticed my weapons degrading super fast or enemies attacking twice as fast. I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is definitely a thing where ostensibly they engineered it for 60 frames a second on PC. Like PC was the lead SKU. However, that seems to not be the case if so much is tied to the frame rate and how many frames of contact. So
I wonder if there's like a weird. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's worth it even if it does degrade your stuff because it looks so good.
Yeah.
I
wonder if there's like a weird speedrunning thing, like if you intentionally like drop it to like 20 frames per second and then you don't have to repair your weapon or they don't attack as fast or something.
Yeah.
Almost like a tool assisted.
Yeah. Or like those old like Quake competitive play where they brought it down to the wireframe. It's like make it 2 frames a second and you get to read it in 10 minutes. Which not really that much of a difference because the fastest speed run is what, half hour right now?
That'll get patched out soon enough. Have you guys watched that?
No, I know of it.
It's amazing to watch. Like a big technique in it. I watched it this morning while eating breakfast. Is doing the trick that lets you walk on air, but you parry someone and then use them as a ramp to get up into the air. Like it's just incredible. Like the things he's doing. Like I'm just like wondering why he keeps parrying this guy, and eventually he just starts walking in air, using him like as a stepping stone to start floating.
Wow,
it's super cool. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's really impressive to watch. And I almost guarantee it will get patched out. But it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Seth says via contact, Huntsman's Copse is where Dark Souls 2 really stood out for me as a unique Souls game. The atmosphere and enemies were so unique, as were the forts. Also, something about the way the poison blew out of the trees onto me made me wonder what had happened to this place. It is sad that I was holding off on liking this game until it proved its specialness to me, but this area was the one that started my love for Dark Souls 2. Moths happen to those trees. Also Earthen Peak. Like, I could totally see this just being a blighted, like, poison forest as a result of runoff, but yeah.
Yep. Runoff pee.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I went and did the cistern kind of thing just before I went and did the copes. So I was a little over leveled when I first encountered this area.
Oh, yeah.
So I just didn't get quite that special feeling.
You mean when you went to the pit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is completely the wrong way to
go.
God. Is this me or this is Murph?
This is Murph.
Okay, so Dave says the Huntsman's Copse is one of my favorite areas. The rogues, in particular, are notable for their use of camouflage. I like how they sneak through the trees, throwing poison projectiles, and jump out of darkness to ambush you. They're one of the only enemies in the game that appear to be hidden in this manner.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Love those bandits.
Yeah, not too much to add, but you're right.
Yeah.
Emily says via contact, although Huntsman's Copse is a remnant of the old Iron King's era, the artificial undead were actually created during Vendrick's reign. The full moon sickles they carry are fortified with Braden steel, an alloy unique to Drenghlake that was created during attempts to mimic the metal found in Hade armaments. The appearance of an Aldean warlock in the area, Merciless Rowena, may implicate the notorious Lord Aldea as the mastermind behind these abominations.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, because so I think Aldea is definitely in here. I don't think of these areas as chronologically separated so much as spatially. Yeah. Just because that map is such a huge thing for me, and the all these are just different kingdoms at different times, thing, because you're just traversing such a huge area. Like, there's no reason why the Iron King and Vendrick's reign couldn't have existed at the same time or after, but in either case, like, they are separate. Like, they're separate things that happened. If that makes sense. Like, I don't think that we could be seeing a force that came in later, as opposed to, like, the same way that we are. Like, Vendrick could have showed up thousands of years after this was a thing, or at the same time. Like, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much Aldea did it. Like, when it comes to anything in the game, like, Aldea just does everything and is responsible for all the stuff. Yeah, exactly. Or Pharos. But yeah. So.
Henry H. says via contact, I think Huntsman's Copse is one of the less interesting areas personally, and it is not without its issues. The biggest thing to stand out for me is the tree that you push down to get a shortcut back to the first bonfire. This tree is right next to the second bonfire. I guess an intern must have designed this part. The boss fight is cool in concept, and yet I think it is easier than the run-up to the boss. On my first encounter with the Skeleton Lords, I took out one of them before a wheel skeleton zoomed from off-screen and turned me into mincemeat. I beat the game a second time, damning the skeletons and their oppressive feudal system. All in all, 10 out of 10 boss fight. Can't wait for From to rehash it in the sequel, but this time it's a whole skeleton parliament, a constituency of skeletons, a confederacy.
Still my beating heart.
A confederacy of skeleton dunces.
Yeah.
See, I would have gone with a murder of skeletons.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Skeleton hot dogs, ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. That tree thing is dumb.
Yep.
I totally agree. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It could it be that this was like an area that they had in the beta, and it's sort of, I guess, maybe has a lot of early design aesthetic as opposed to like some of the later areas. And
you played the beta, right, Cole?
Yeah. I don't have any.
Was the second bonfire there?
Yeah, it was there.
Okay,
I don't recall
that would
there
explain
being,
it.
Yeah, I don't recall there being a shortcut there though. But then again, I didn't find the shortcut until much later because there was no need for one. So
yeah,
I just didn't notice that the tree was activatable because there was really no reason to approach it. In fact, you know what? There was no shortcut there because I remember making that jump. Yeah. So without that tree there, you can make a jump down to the second bonfire without going through the dark ambush room. Yeah. So maybe it's something they added in response to playtesting without actually thinking about how dumb it was.
Yeah. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it is annoying. It's when we were first talking about this on Facebook, like a lot of people brought up that tree as like, this like Dark Souls 2 sucks.
1 out of 10, worse than SimCity 2013.
Yeah.
EA fucked us again.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not airtight, but it's it's a small part of a greater whole. So yeah.
Where's your god now?
Oh, no.
Sorry, Murph, go ahead.
He's a skeleton lord.
He was always a skeleton.
Henry B says via contact. Oh, wait, Henry H and Henry B. I got fooled by FromSoft on the skeleton lords. I saw 3 enemies in the boss room and immediately thought, I remember the gargoyles. Man-eaters and the 4 kings. Kill them fast. Big mistake. I found myself swarmed by skeletons quickly. And then, to my horror, bone wheels! Thankfully, bone wheels aren't so nasty this time, and I was also able to kite the horde around the boss room. Still, this was the first time in Dark Souls 2 when I cursed skyward, Dark Souls! Yeah, I do think they nerfed bone wheels. Game is ruined forever. Fuck that tree.
They don't go as far as, and they don't do as much stamina damage. Like they don't hit you as many times when they hit you.
This is a change I am entirely for.
I remember reading on Facebook. This is only tangentially related, but somebody was complaining about in Dark Souls 2 how many bosses have smaller creatures that fight with them. And I was just thinking about like how often that happens pretty considerably in Dark Souls 1 as well.
Yeah.
When you think about Capra is the obvious one, but also Nito and Taurus Demon has those two archers that are optional to take out. And then you have the Channeler and Gaping Dragon. And, there's several fights that actually have, smaller critters, with there as well. It's a kind of an interesting idea. Like, that's not really unique to Dark Souls 2. Like that happens in Dark Souls 1 as well.
Yeah. I think what gets people up in arms, and I'm not one of these people, is that it's small creatures kind of combined with bosses that are not huge.
Yeah.
Not recognizing that the best fights are when you're kind of on more equal footing.
Yeah. Agreed. And there are ones that I think are kind of like, I like the Skeleton Lords a lot. When we get to Prowling Magus, I think that boss fight doesn't work, as well. Like, I don't think there's as clear an idea behind that. And as much as it's it's cool in concept, it rehashes essentially the Skeleton Lords bit, in a lot of ways. Like, just what is it like to deal with a lot of the stuff at once? Mm-hmm. It's more just kind of like a hard.
In Dark Souls 1, I don't think the smaller enemies are even done as well. Like, they're always kind of there to say "fuck you," like the dogs, the archers, and like the sniper. Like, those are all "fuck you" guys. And meanwhile, in Dark Souls 2, the smaller guys are part of the boss, is like an integral experience. Yeah,
I agree. It doesn't bother me. Like it is, it bothers some people. It's also in that Matthew Matosis critique video, which is pretty good, and I like that guy's work. But like, he gets mad about some stuff that I don't, that I disagree with him about. So, not to ask the DS too much, but not to ask the DS at D.
There you go. Work it out.
There you go.
Sound athletics. You're good.
Yeah. So Zach says via contact. I rarely get angry at video games, but when the bone wheels showed up in the Skeleton Lords fight, I made an exception. I spent the next 2 minutes loudly talking shit to virtual skeletons, as if there weren't other people around who could hear me. When I first got to the fight in New Game Plus, I died after killing everyone except for one bone wheel. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm picturing a scene where Zach is in his room and his mom is sitting on the couch, and he's just like, "Fuck you, Bone Wheel, yeah."
What? S this DS. Just because I want this in the in one of the show notes, Peaceful Skeleton Realm attacked by helicopter.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's great. That's been on there before. Like, it's not Moratorium. So like that is shown up multiple times in our show notes, and I think this is maybe the last time, but I'll throw it in there because it is worthwhile.
Yep, and it is also the most appropriate spot.
Yeah. So get if you've been holding off reading that specific show note, please read it this time. So, because it is an amazing video.
So moving into kind of the Undead Purgatory responses, Matt says via the contact forum, I feel like the Executioner's Chariot boss fight might be the best iteration that From has done of the 4-2 and Catacombs concept. It gives a strong sense of urgency to eliminate the Necromancers because of the boss and the switch you need to advance to. In contrast, I felt like 4-2 felt very intense in short bursts, but then it would give you respites that eased up, creating more of an up-and-down rhythm of the tension. The Catacombs just didn't seem to work because of the Divine Weapon method, but even without it, there were plenty of shortcuts and just less urgency. Here in Undead Purgatory, the sequence lasts the appropriate amount of time and stays at a tense level throughout, and you're constantly torn between the need to advance and quickly before the chariot makes another pass, and the need to also not just leave a bunch of infinitely respawning enemies in your rear. It made me feel a little bit like I was seizing bunkers one by one as I advanced across the battlefield. At least until you pull the lever, the second half of the fight just didn't seem as strong.
Yeah, I would agree.
I like 4.2 a lot. Like, I think 4.2 works really well.
Yeah.
But this also works well. Like, I think this works better than the Catacombs does, at least as far as the concept.
For sure.
So.
I definitely would agree that the second half of the fight doesn't live up to the first half. Like, I don't know. The boss seems to not have a lot of damage, or doesn't seem to have a lot of hit points. Like, there's not a lot of strategy other than fuck, and then he's dead.
Yeah, I think part of like the boss fight is figuring it out.
Yeah.
I guess is the idea. But then once you do, like, it gives you a little bit of a reprise. Thank you, Matt. I'm not trying to jump on you about that. I just like 4.2 a lot.
Yeah.
I think 4.2 works really well. And do you want to close us out? I think we're on Kole.
That's
Jonathan? Murph.
Oh, no, okay. Titchy Gren is by far the creepiest NPC I've encountered in a Souls game. There was something familiar about his voice, but I couldn't put my finger on it for the longest time. But it hit me the other day when I was watching cartoons with my son. Dude sounds just like Winnie the fucking Pooh. That shit is fucked. I don't quite hear it, but then again, I don't listen to Winnie the Pooh all that often.
And I'm sure if you have that close of a relationship with Winnie the Pooh cartoons, you probably start reading all kinds of, dark stuff into it.
Oh yeah.
The Thousand Skeleton Wood.
Yeah, that's true. Sign me up. Let's get a ticket. So thank you everybody for your responses. It is by far not too late to write in with your responses to either the Sinner's Rise or the Grave of the Saints. And if you want to do that, you go to Duckfeed.tv /contact.
Yeah. And Murph, if people want to find you?
They can find us at dorknight.com or the Dork Night podcast on iTunes, or Hours Played, another podcast that I do, video game kind of reviews in quick, short form.
They come recommended. So just in general, I know we want to keep our admin short on this because we're under a little bit of a time crunch issue. But there are other shows on the network, and if you want to support more work like this, talking about Dark Souls and other video game and non-video game things, we have a Patreon campaign, which is patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv.
Indeed. Even as little as $1 a month makes a big difference.
Most so.
Yeah. And I think that's probably good for admin. So we have some deleted scenes that are short but very sweet. and they're coming at you now.
So the world might be mended. Or sundered. Seek misery.
Sundered. Do something. Skeleton. Therefore, hooray for skeleton.
It sounded like you were about to say Skelefornia.
Come on, Skelefornication.
Skeleton Lord.
With a name like
damn ding dong. Skellebones, bone of Skull Town.
Do you have a lust for blood?
Yeah, I learned, this is unrelated, but I learned how to play the Gabriel Knight theme on this little toy piano next to my keyboard.
Oh, don't hold out.
It's like, just that beginning part when it does that little thing. And then whenever you get a clue, it goes.
Yep.
Whenever you, pick up a thing.
Can you give me a grace?
Grace. Gabriel, what is that? What are you doing, you pig?
Oh, he's stuck in a loop.
Do you have a lust for blood?
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Murphster. The old Murphman.
I've been Murphing away in the Murph mines for you guys, bringing you a whole sack of Murphs.
Yep, fresh Murph loaves.
Murph carts overflow with Murph loaves.
Oh, no. I mean, at least with Smurfs, you can turn them into gold.
What can we turn you into, Murph?
Just quality podcasting.
That's really bizarre because I was having a conversation about the Smurfs today. My coworkers would not believe that they were Belgian in origin.
Why not?
It took very little persuasion, at least in the form of a Wikipedia link, but they thought, One of them said, but that was such an American cartoon. And it's like, well,
It in what way? Like American cartoons were all guns and selling toys.
Yeah.
And Smurfs was all classical music and like fables. This is the least American cartoon.
I'm not. I am not vouching for their position. It was just a bizarre conversation to have.
Well, wait,
Yeah.
you know about the anti-war Smurf ad, right?
No.
Oh, so apparently it's either a single panel or I can't quite remember if it was a full comic, but there's basically this canonical ad of like the Smurfs being bombed, and like it's just like you wouldn't do this to real people or something like that.
I would do it to Smurfs. I just like Smurfs. As constructs. Like, I watched the cartoon when I was young, but I don't like looking at them or anything. And now they're definitely more of a force for evil than good.
I mean,
with their Neil Patrick Harrises and stuff.
with them being
Oh,
shipwrecked
God,
and
yeah.
such with their Katy Perrys.
Yeah, exactly. Just booty shaking.
Yeah. Smurf works. Yeah, but that was worthwhile just to reveal to them that the original French name was Les Schtroumpfs.
Yeah.
This is
The Strumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're also, it's also really annoying that they're 3 apples tall when they're clearly not.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's no sense of proportion in that fucking show.
How big are those mushrooms? Those are
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just don't put a measure on it, idiots.
yeah.
We understand that things are small and like just leave it open.
They're just playing it fast and loose. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, well, they should be playing it fast and loose, but they're trying to play it high and tight.
Yeah.
And that.
Well, I mean,
don't
it's
fuck.
like what the fuck's up? What's the fuck up with qubits? Like Noah's Ark. Give us something to look for, God.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Oh God! You've evoked a
Speaking of
memory
God.
when I
guys heard the
when I
good
worked went to college in Clemson, South Carolina. I flipped it to an AM radio station, and much to my chagrin, there was an old Baptist preacher quite literally denouncing the Smurfs as tools of the devil because the cat's name was Azrael, which is the name of a demon, I guess.
The cat hated the Smurfs.
I know, but like he said, that's how the demon gets in your kid's mind. Well,
Yeah. It's also the name of like the dumbest character in X-Men First Class and X-Men comics.
Yes.
Oh.
Also, Jason Lee's character in Dogma.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that the person that Peter Parker sold his marriage to?
That's Mephisto.
Oh, okay.
Not to be confused with Macfisto, Bono's alter ego from the Pop Mart tour. But Azrael is Nightcrawler's dad in one of the all-time worst comics by
Jesus.
Chuck Austin, where like it's Nightcrawler's dad is Satan that can teleport, and he needs to get out of hell and into the earthly realms. And the way he does this is by going to Earth and having sex with a bunch of ladies, so they'll have babies that'll be drawn to him to teleport him out. And you get a star if you can see what's wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Like, it's pretty fucking dumb. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Just straight Zeus in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, you can go if you can go to Earth to have sex with a lady, you can just go to Earth.
Yeah.
You don't need to hope that your kids will come back one day and spring out.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
was it guaranteed that they would have teleportation powers, or was he just banking on the fact that one day there would be a mutant, and maybe his mutant power would be teleportation?
No, they all have teleport powers. Like the comic
Okay.
involves Nightcrawler and a bunch of Nightcrawlers, all in hell.
Don't cheapen the best character. Come on.
It's so dumb.
Like
Chuck
Nightcrawler is so much more interesting when he's not actually like
Explained.
satanic.
Yeah, he's because he's not.
You're right.
Yeah, Chuck Austin. This is also Chuck Austin in the supplementary material for X-Men 2. Did an interview where he said Nightcrawler has 2 penises. 100% true. Like it's not.
Like-
I'm sure it's not canon, but they're doing an interview with Chuck Austin. He's like, well, let's just. He's like the interviewer is like Entertainment Tonight or some nonsense. Is like, can you tell us something about Nightcrawler that no one else knows? And he's like, well, you know how he's got 3 fingers. Well, he's got 2 of something else, if you know what I mean. And kind of winks.
He's got 2 toes.
Yeah.
So he's like a snake.
He's one of those bifurcated cock
Yeah.
men.
Like a body mod guy.
Yeah, you know those guys.
Yeah.
That's your road Psycho Circus motherfuckers.
God, always running around the neighborhood with their motorcycles and their spray cans.
Yep. Fucking up authority
And there's
twice at once.
Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Man.
I want to make an Animal Farm joke, but I can't quite compose it.
Oh.
Yeah. So you're not bifurcated, right, Murph? You have to tell us.
Well, I am part possum, but they don't call me possum. Oh my!
Because we consider ourselves pretty open-minded, but that's
It's
a bridge too far.
just can't stop thinking about it.
There's I listened to a podcast where they were talking about that guy on Reddit who just had 2 dicks. And on the podcast, one of the guys on the podcast, it's visual humor, so it shouldn't even have worked on the podcast, but you have to imagine it, was like, here, let me pull up a picture. And he showed the guy in the room the picture, and all you hear is laughing. And it was because what he actually Googled was a picture of 2 hot dogs and 1 bun. Very fucking funny. It was Adam Scott of Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
He's a very funny man.
Oh yeah.
So innocent.
Yeah.
Huh.
So good.
Ooh, man.
Mm-hmm.
And also so just in transitioning out of nowhere, so I come home today and my uncle or my uncle-in-law has sent me 2 packages, and I'm like, this is just weird. I don't usually receive packages, but he sent me about, I would maybe 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at like 10 box sets of old Dark Sun material.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's the Mind Lord of the Last Ocean is probably my favorite so far.
Man. That's a good fun time. That's the probably second best D&D setting, or what it's up there. I love Dark Sun.
I would agree. I'd have to say Planescape. Yeah,
Planescape, and then I like Ravenloft a lot too, but Dark Sun rules.
I think Planescape edges it out because I like the art.
Yeah, Tony Gitsirelzi stuff and everything. The guy who ran our really long running Planescape campaign is doing a Dark Sun campaign next. I'm super excited.
Oh wow, yeah.
And he said it's going to be a fucking meat grinder. It's going to be all of our characters kill this person for water or you die. It's just going to be really, really play up the harshness. So.
Yeah, I ran a Dark Sun campaign once as well, and it's just dark. All right, do you side with the slavers or the also slavers?
Yeah, other slavers.
That's the post-apocalyptic D&D setting.
Yeah, it's all psionics and stuff. It's got psionics, but it also has Thri-Kreen. All the elements look stupid, but it actually works. The whole idea is you start out super shitty. So your guys start out with weapons made out of bone that have -2s, and then you get to the end of a dungeon to get a metal dagger, and everyone in the town wants to kill you for it because it's super valuable. Lowered expectations.
Yeah, I don't want to. It is post-apocalyptic, technically, but it's more primitive desert kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia now.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Just a big old mystery box of D&D settings.
Yeah, it was great. It was I wasn't expecting that.
It's the kind of thing I want to come home to. that uncle's a keeper.
Well, yeah, no exaggeration. When I went to visit him for the first time, I had to, sleep in the basement downstairs, and there was literally a room filled with file cabinets, and all of those are filled with just second edition and third edition D&D books, and stacked on top of that is even more.
Yeah, that fucking shame. If I was a certain age, that's a Shangri-La and a half.
Oh yeah,
you go to a relative's house and sometimes it's very boring, and then just I'm gonna go stay in this room and I would just hang out. I can just imagine myself in that situation, just hang out in that basement.
Oh yeah. Late at everyone is old, so they went to bed early, and so I was just up at night and what's this crazy Planescape setting? Oh, the elemental plane of salt.
Great.
Two volumes, huh?
Hmm?
No, just 2 volumes dedicated to the plane of soul.
And a full-out pull-out map. All right.
Yeah.
Three different species of zodiac bears.
Well, the bear is actually only in the Chinese zodiac. In the Western zodiac, there's no bear.
Okay.
Oh my. Oh Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
it's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna move that we get. I have a soft time limit of probably
Okay.
about 2 hours and 15 minutes from now.
Okay.
I think we'll be able to make it, but I am gonna say we should probably start.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's all right. Enough of this nonsense about
It is fun. It was a dense supplementary material.
No, let's get back to the real hard fantasy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. None of this Dark Sun nonsense.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon